the name Elephante is a reference to elephant in the room. And for me, the elephant in the room was wanting to make music and wanting to become a musician.
You may know him from his work with 88 Rising or his performances at festivals like Lollapalooza or EDC, but who is Elephante really? East Side Stories got the chance to sit down with Elephante, an Ann Arbor native and the son of Taiwanese immigrants. Here's a conversation that we had about his journey as an AAPI artist, his tour, and upcoming projects. Elephante, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited about your tour and the upcoming music that's coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about the artists that are joining you on your tour and how you met them?
I mean, I'm really excited about all of the artists I'm bringing out. I have 4 openers with me on various shows on the tour. Noel, Huang, Sabai, and Yetep. They're all incredibly talented. They're just names that I came across as I was going through my weekly Spotify or Apple Music kind of discovery playlists, and I always have been just kind of keeping an eye out for young talent and new songs. That's kind of the next generation of up and comers. And when I was starting the tour, I wanted to curate a vibe both sonically and kind of culturally, and thought it'd be exciting, particularly after releasing my album with 88 Rising. To just kind of create this, make it more an event and cohesive. And I really love their styles and just them as artists. Coming up, I had a lot of peers, but no one really who was more experienced and quote unquote knew what they were doing to lend a hand and give me a push in the right direction. And so now that I've been lucky enough to be doing this for a while, and I know all the things you shouldn't do early on in your career, and so just to be able to kind of pass that knowledge on and hopefully give these up and coming artists a platform to really get their music out.
You've had a love for music your entire life, and it must have been so crazy to transition from a corporate job into pursuing your true passion. What was that like, the transition period?
Having a career in music is just crazy. I just loved making music and had made music my whole life, and I was working a corporate job at the time and just hated it and made the leap and was like, I'm gonna find a way to make it happen one way or the other. On the one hand, something inside me, I knew this was always what I was supposed to do. It was, looking back, so obvious that music is what I should have been doing. It's what I spent all my time on. I would skip out on parties and skip out on school and work to make music. On the other hand, it was really tough because as an Asian American, you're raised to go to school, get a job, and start a family, and just have this very stable kind of traditional way of life. So a lot of it was overcoming this cultural, subconscious perception of who I could be and whether I could actually be an artist. There's still always a voice inside me being like, well, you're not really cut out for this. And it's something I still battle with now, is the imposter syndrome of, oh, you're not really meant to be here. That voice still pops up every now and then. It was never really explicit. It was always more covert. A lot of times I'd show up to shows and people would be surprised that I was Asian because they hadn't seen a picture of me. I think there's a little bit of an expectation, or just, it was just surprise and, oh, like, we're not used to seeing Asian people on stage type of things. And or they're like, oh, you bring so much energy to the shows, and I'm like, yeah, of course, why wouldn't I?
In what ways do you hope to subvert expectations through your performance or your artistry?
Honestly, the biggest thing for me is I want to, this is going to sound maybe a little cocky, but I want to be an example of someone who made it. I want to expand the sort of cultural possibilities of what an Asian creative can be. Growing up, I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me doing the things. And so part of me was like, well, that's not what Asian people do. I just think about the 12-year-old version of me right now, seeing me up there, and then that opens their universe of what they could be. I can be a creative too, and I can make a career and a life doing this. And I think not just me, but all the incredible Asian creatives that are kind of popping off right now, I'm really excited for the next generation of kids who don't have to fight themselves to believe that they can do it.
So how do your experiences inform your art?
I think the entire project, the entire artist identity to me is about becoming who you really are and shedding any social conventions or pressures of what you should be. The name Elephante is a reference to elephant in the room. And for me, the elephant in the room was wanting to make music and wanting to become a musician. And so when I wasn't doing that, that was the thing the only thing I could think of. And so becoming Elephante was about embracing that and becoming the elephant in the room. Especially on my most recent album, there's Through the Good and the Bad. Just embracing it and coming to terms with all that you are.
Advocacy and representation has been a growing priority for you. And so what do you feel like is your personal responsibility as an Asian American artist who has a platform?
I, of course, want to do what I can, but then there's also a part of me that's like, well, dude, you make bleeps and bloops. Like, you don't take yourself too seriously. But then also accepting, like, I know my music does have an impact, and there is there is a platform there. And so I just try to do what's authentic to me and support the things that I believe in. And while also not being presumptive that my personal experience or belief is somehow representative of AAPI culture as a whole, right? It is such a diverse, varied life experience, and a lot of times in broad culture it gets smushed down into like this monolith, which is really just not. It's just inaccurate. It's not true.
You said that there's some things that Elephante would do that Tim wouldn't. Do you have an example of that?
I mean, jump off a 20-foot stage into a crowd. I'm naturally a pretty hard introvert. But when I'm at my shows or when I'm Elephante, then it totally flips, and I'm very outgoing and very high energy. But my natural state is just to be pretty quiet and keep to myself. And it's certain things come out as Elephante during the pandemic, where I wasn't sure that I'd be able to ever do it again. I'm very lucky to do what I do, and to play the new music, play the new album, and have people know the words and sing along I'm very, very grateful to be out there again.
So you have a new project that's coming out in May. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited to put out music. It's a song that I've been working on during tour, and it's a collaboration with one of the opening artists that's been on tour with me, who goes by Seiji. We've been playing it out at a couple shows, which is always fun. It's a little scary. I think a lot of fans at shows, the stereotype is they just want you to play the hits. So it's always a bit of an adventure in how the crowd's going to react. But it is, again, I thrive on putting myself out there and doing stuff that I'm maybe not prepared for. And now this new song that I'm also working out the kinks of like, well, how do I actually perform this? But it's thrilling. It really is. And whenever you get those good reactions, or you get that Instagram story tag of people being excited about it and can't wait.
What is some advice that you have for other emerging artists who want to pursue their passions?
The big thing that I tell young creatives is, one, it's going to be really hard. And it's going to be hard in ways that you don't expect. And it's going to be harder than you think. If that discourages you, me telling you that right now, it's probably not going to work out, because you need this energy of, I don't care what happens, I'm going to figure it out. With that said, if you hear that and you're like, hey, Elephante, fuck you, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm going to make it, you're ready to go. They're the ones who can hear no the most times and still keep on doing it. It took me a very long time to get decent at making music, like decades. But I didn't care. I was making bad music for a long time. All of your favorite artists, when they first started, they sucked. I don't care what they tell you. They were bad for a long time. I've also done so many things I never thought were possible, and I found joy and fulfillment in so many other places that I couldn't even conceive of. You know, I'm trying not to use the aim for the stars and if you miss, you'll land on the moon metaphor, but you know, that is kind of true, where it's, you know, I thought I was going to be in a rock band, or I thought I'd be a singer-songwriter. I never thought that I'd be DJing to 30,000 people at EDC, right? The amount of work that you don't see behind every artist's career is astonishing. And so just keep at it, keep working on your craft. Don't let the world tell you no. And my big motto is, you either make it or you quit. So just don't quit. Down this road, in this